Aloha, my name is Anna Covert, and I'm coming to you from my battleship here on the beautiful island of Oahu. This week on the Covert Code, the topic is driving brand differentiation with strategic video content. And my special guest is Daniel Borba, CEO and founder of SparkPortal. Daniel's here to share how his innovative video as a service model is transforming video content for SaaS and B2B customers, offering scalable, innovative solutions that break through the fold. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you so much.
So to get the party started, can you tell us a little bit about your professional journey? I know you're an immigrant, and how you came up with the idea for Spark Portal, kind of your passion behind that concept.
Where do I even start? There's so much. But to make it short, I migrated here to the US when I was 13 years old. And I was born in Uruguay. And so me and my family moved to Miami. And that's where I went to high school. And in high school, I learned about video production. You know, we were in charge of like the TV news channel of the school. And that's how I got to in the world of video. And fast forward to after high school, I started a wedding videography business, and then that transitioned into animation, freelancing. And then that, during that time, this is 2013, 2012, explainer videos exploded.
Yeah.
And so that's when the SaaS world started, like software companies started using video content to kind of like really get the message out. And I said, hey, I'm going to make that switch from freelancing to actually become an agency, so to speak. And so that's the transition. And then fast forward to 2017, I said, okay, I need to actually change the model a little bit here. And in 2019, we launched, and it's been a long journey, but we're happy to have made that journey. So that's where the idea came from.
Wow. And so we're video as a service. I think that's something that we don't hear often. How does it work? Tell us, our listeners. Yeah.
That's a good question. You know, there's a lot of services that are now becoming more, X as a service. A lot of agencies are trying to make that work. A lot of, we saw that transition in the software space. For example, Adobe, you could pay $1,000 a year, or every 2 years, over a couple years, and boom, you get the access to the DVD and install it in your computer, right? The software. And then they made the whole industry made this switch to software as a service. So now you pay a subscription and you get access to everything at all times. And so I was like, man, what a cool way of really engaging and providing a solution. I said, I wish it could be something like that for video. And so what sparked the idea is that the problem that I noticed is that the videos that we were making were not very impactful. Why? Because they lacked strategy. And because companies spend a lot of money, they value video, and rightfully so, they also spend a lot of video, and they worry too much about production quality. And so then they only could do a few projects per year. And so then I said, if we could leverage our relationship at a deeper level so that we can help them with the strategy and also with their production, we can lower the cost and make our money in the length of the relationship rather than in the project itself. And so and then also it would give them the benefit of giving them more volume, like more videos per engagement, if you want to look at it that way. And so that's basically how the reason why I looked at it differently and the value of the video service offering.
So are you actually producing the video? So, or I was looking at your website, so it's kind of both models. Like people provide you footage, but you're also actually going in. So are you worldwide? You're a certain focus?
No, we're relatively small. We have 10 clients as of today, in the beginning Q1 of 2025. And right now we're focusing on post-production type videos. So explainer videos, video editing projects, thought leadership for LinkedIn, that type of video, right? Demo videos, promos, sizzles, all remote production mostly. When it comes to in-person production and video, we could still go out and record, but we want to uh, do it cautiously, because since we don't have the volume of clients yet, we don't have enough for a team to go and do it throughout the year. And so what we do is they just pay additional, basically. And not all clients want that. And so the other, or I guess there's like a misconception that you need in-person production, and it's important, but you don't need it to run a video content strategy. In fact, it's much faster if you avoid having to record in-person video production, in-person videos. At some point, sure, you can allocate some budget to do that. But generally speaking, it's best that you don't, because it just takes so much work. A project can be 3-4 months because there's just so much logistic stuff that you have to deal with. And so, I mean, with Riverside or Zoom or any other, video recording, remote recording solution, in weeks, you can just get a customer to do a customer story, and boom, like that's a huge asset for any sales team, any marketing team. And now you're talking weeks instead of like months, right?
And so you're the one who, so when someone engages with you, you talk about a strategy first, you're collecting any B-roll, and then are you actually doing the interviews to collect some of this content?
We are, yeah. So this is interesting. We do it. We like to say that we do it all, but there's so much stuff that needs to happen that yes, we do remote recording. So if the client wants to do that themselves, they can do it themselves. But if they want us to do it, we do it. The way that we like to see ourselves is like a white glove approach. Like we kind of tailor whatever you need to get your video content strategy up and running. To answer your question, we do it all. So explaining videos, we produce the content, we record it if we need it. If they need scripts, we can help them write it. We usually recommend for them to write it, and we usually train them to how to write scripts, and that's ongoing, right? Like it's not just like a class. It's mostly like, hey, here's some templates, but also remember that we need to kind of approve it and kind of show you the ropes. And over time, they kind of catch on. But the biggest problem I would say that we're trying to solve, or that we try to help them with, is you need the strategy. Usually for most agencies, it's like something that happens in the beginning, and then they have to pay additional in order for it to be touched up or adjusted, right? And so what we've noticed is that that's a problem, because once you hand off the strategy, even if you're involved in the execution of it, like it doesn't work, because you're the person, is the agency is the one that owns the strategy. And so what happens is, we've noticed that when we have regular meetings and when we own the strategy and we train them, that is the best dynamic, because we're allowed to be the experts, and they follow our guidance, and we also take care of the execution. And so it creates a great dynamic of like ongoing strategy work and execution. And so what we've noticed too is like over time, especially like 6 months, 9 months down the line, we start hearing feedback from leadership, right? So not so much our point of contact, but you start hearing conversations like, oh my gosh, like what we did last quarter, that was great. And so now, again, that's the idea, right? The idea is that whatever you're doing as a service, it's so impactful that they're talking about it when you're not around, at the board level or at the executive level.
Yeah, I think
And so
I think that you're right about that too, because I think that what I've seen being an agency owner is that people will invest, right? And they get a camera crew and they invest and they get a lot of content, but then it's over, right? And we really, in order to have the brand, if this is part of your branding strategy, you want it to be long term and consistent. That's part of this working long term.
you're so right. Like, there was this conversation I was having with another agency owner, and just like you, it's like it's the harsh reality is that there is no metric that you can just assign and it's going to tell you day one, week one, month one. A lot of these investments, they're from the gut. Like, even if you have a beautiful like dashboard presentation that shows you generated X amount of leads, I can break that down. I can say, hey, like, well, the quality of those leads are probably just 90% of them are just kind of crappy leads anyway, right? So then there goes the case for attribution just goes out the window, Like, and so what we forget, and when I mean we, what I mean is everybody that is involved in the marketing space for the past 5, 10 years, or actually for the past 5 years, right, since COVID and a little bit before, there was so much money to go around that you could just try tactics, and it was going to work. Run ads, and so it would work fairly quickly because you didn't need that many touch points, and you didn't need to rely on your brand so much. You could just rely on tactics. But now we're going back to the good old ways, right? Like the way that grandma did it, which is like we need to build brand trust, and then go ahead and ask, and that takes time. And
I think that is the video part, is the authenticity, right? The trust is so much higher when you are not just reading a testimonial, but you're hearing it from a customer. And I think that it also goes, one other thing that I see a lot now that we're having this conversation, and popped in my mind, is how much content is unusable because they're not supporting it, right? Like, oh, well, someone mentioned this product, or someone's in that video who no longer works for us, or the training's changed now, and now that our investment is not, we can't use it anymore. And I think that's something that you probably can solve, right? With your services of, fast editing and the ability to create these elements that can withstand time.
Yes, we had our one of our we had a client sign up Q3 of 2024, and this client had been a one-off client that we've held for many years, and we were trying to get them to come and, hey, like, you need to come on board as a video as a service. Like, we know we can help you. And their big aha moment was when they had it, because they have a yearly event. So they had a yearly event, and like, oh my gosh, like, it never, like, I don't know why. He's like, but we stopped doing video, and we were doing video regularly, even before they hired SparkPortal. He's like, but we kind of stopped doing these case study videos. And in the event, like, one of our, so, because those sales kickoff and big events, they invite their partners and their like the best customers, right, to come and speak about them. One of the stories in the panel, he was saying, like, yeah, like, before I came on board with the company, all we did is just go to the YouTube channel, watch all their videos, and then signed up, and then talk to sales and blah blah blah. And then it just goes to show that you don't, like, you cannot measure the impact of video as you measure ads. But then when you close a deal and it's a bit, and you realize how much of an impact it had in somebody's decision, that's when you realize the impact. And so it goes to show your point about repurposing and refiguring out how can we tell this story that we captured for a different audience, or for a different type of customer profile that we now have. And so,
and what I was going to say, I think that, you can measure the result. I mean, in the way that I think about it, right? Because of now some of these programmatic tools and ability to track the customer journey, depending on what kind of software someone's using, we can even see, do a lot of solar as a for instance. And depending on what kind of software we send the customer links, including videos, we can actually see exactly where in the proposal, what videos they did watch, what they didn't watch. And even, with IP mapping, or we call it addressable audience, meaning that if you're in a home that has a cable box and all the cables being transferred to video streaming, we can actually know you went to the website, you left, we remarketed to you, the video showed, a non-skippable, and then within 24 hours, that customer came back to the site and converted. We can make that correlation now, which is very exciting.
yes,
Yeah,
it is. So there's a lot of stuff in our industry, in the B2B SaaS industry specifically. There's not a lot of there are some companies that like to track to that level, like, and set up their campaigns at that level. But the thing that I've noticed is that they just struggle to keep track of everything because there's so much, and it's just, that's why I usually say that we can't track it, because even if they want, they still have, like, pressure from above that they need to report it in a certain way. So whenever they want to track, like, views or attribution per deal, or something like that, right? And now we're talking about you know sales cycles of like 3, 6, 9 months, a year plus. And so it's really interesting because different industries have different challenges in the way that they track the success of video.
Absolutely. Are you
Yeah.
hosting? So as part of your video as a service, are you hosting the content?
No.
Create it? Okay, so you create it and then you distribute, you give it to them, and then are you
So
guiding them on how to use?
yeah, so we come up with initially we come up with like a video roadmap of like the first 3 months, and usually it's sort of like a preliminary strategy based on like quick conversations, immediate needs, that type of thing. Because usually when a company comes to us, they they know that they need video. They're hungry for video. They either lack either volume, or they lack distribution, or they lack the production speed. And so whatever one of those three things they lack, we build a video roadmap based on that. And so
And do you have any certain industries that you kind of specialize in currently? And are you have a small, what kind of industries are you working with right now?
so right now we work with mostly software companies. And so, the software companies, it's becoming like a blanket statement. It's like saying like houses, there's different, you could go from trader homes to and tents to like, multi-million-dollar houses. But essentially, we've seen a niche kind of growing, and it's the payments and banking industry.
Interesting.
And so, yeah, so that's one branch. Usually, the way that we define our market is 50 to 1,000 employees. We do have some enterprise level clients, but mostly 50 to 1,000 employees. Usually, they have like a small marketing team already, 2 or 3 people, and they have a head of marketing and like an executioner, some sort of marketing manager or director, and they hire a few agencies, and usually that's when they by then they usually lock in some sort of funding, and so we come in and we build up the video roadmap and their video content. The other clients are a little bit bigger. Usually they have a little bit bigger teams, and they have had a lot of video, but their speed is just not there because the
Right.
traditional model is like 2 or 3 months to do a video, and so we solve that issue for them. But yeah.
So how many videos are people receiving a month? Is there a limit?
So that's interesting because what we've learned is that, and this is why the strategy needs to be married with the production. Because if you just say, "Hey, we're just gonna just ask what you want and we'll do it," then you start to adding a lot of volume of video, but that video, that content, it's not gonna be very impactful because there's no strategy behind it. And even if you have the greatest CMO and the best, requests for videos, you need a strategy that is rooted in speed of production. And in order to know speed of production and to get a stronghold on that, you need to be well aware of the software that's available to you. And usually a marketing manager, director, or CMO or VP, they know that they need video. They might be able to grab some sort of software and do video, but they're never going to be able to know how to really take all these tools and use them to create speed. And so what I'm trying to say is the strategy needs to be solved for different things like speed, volume, and diversity of video content. And so that's basically what we're trying to solve. And so that's why this strategy is so important, married with the production.
Give us an example of a strategy that, maybe a client came to you and how you structured this strategy and what some of the deliverables were.
Yeah. So we have this company, and they serve the banking, sort of the banking industry. And so they have one foot on the industry, but they also service other industries. And so their big thing was, we got this funding, so now we need to get the word out, but we need to rebrand. And so one of the things the way that we think about a strategy is we have the one-off needs that come your way throughout the year that you can plan, but they're hard to predict, like explainer videos, product updates, and campaigns about certain themes, about what's going, depending on what's going on in the market. Exactly. So those videos, they're going to come, and you can say in a year, we're going to need, 6 explainer videos. We can plan on that. You don't know when, but you know they're going to need them here and there. But then you also have, that's more like reactive type of video content, which you should plan for, you should budget for. But it's not, you cannot kind of plan it a year in advance or 3 months in advance sometimes. So that stuff you need to, that's how we look at it. That's kind of like one track or one category of video, like the one-off needs. On the bottom of that, you have the ongoing video needs that a company should invest regularly on a proactive method. And those are like your executive level thought leaders should be recording on Zoom or Riverside and just be posting regular video on LinkedIn, even if it's just once a month, twice, 3 times a month, or every day, however often it is. And also have some sort of ongoing regular show for the company. And so those are usually the way that we structure our strategy is around what can you do as a one-off throughout the year, and then what can you do on an ongoing basis that is repeatable, that we can just build for you so that you don't have to be involved as a client, like in every single little thing. And so what that means is you're going to end up in a year, we usually want you to do about 100 to 150 videos per year.
Wow.
That's individual assets, right? Yep. So we're not talking about 150 explainers because there's no need for that. But once you account,
that'd be weird. That'd be a really complicated product.
by the time you account for clips that you extract from like a long form video, right? So that's the biggest bulk right there. But then once you start adding, like let's say if you you have a big deal in the pipeline and you want to kind of speed it up and you want to do some video content around it, now you're incentivized to do that, right? So you have a meeting, you have a few executives fly in. Why don't we do a video? Like we're doing all this effort. We have SparkPortal. Why can't we just do a 30-second video as part of our presentation? They've used videos like that way. Another thing that comes up all the time is we have events a few times a year, and we either we sponsor a few events where we have a booth and we do some sort of talk track or whatever, or we just have a booth, or we do our own events. And so that's another thing that we take into account when we build the strategy is we say, okay, deliverable wise, what are you going to need and how many and by what dates roughly? And so that allows it. And because we have control over this is what I'm saying about the strategy is that a marketer cannot get to that point of knowing how long things are going to change, how long things are going to take, and how much prep time you need, and how much time it's going to take to post-produce each video style. And so that's why the video agency of today needs to be able to provide both the strategy and the production. Because if you just have the production, eventually it's going to become too expensive.
Right.
You're just not going to be able to scale.
Then you can like stay on top of them too, right? Because when you create the service, I think one of the things we always hate as a consumer is paying for subscription and then not using it. Right.
100%.
It sounds like to me that with the strategy, you're coming to them and saying, hey guys, like our strategy is this, and we need you to you get the most out of your promotion.
Yeah. And another metric but another factor that we look at in terms of like making sure that our clients are happy is we want to give them at least 50%, 200% value. So if they paid, $18,000, we want to give them $36,000 of worth of value anywhere else. And so they feel like they get the value, but then also we report on the impact that we've had. And so it's an easy report that they can just send upstairs and say, hey, we need to renew because look how much stuff we've done and look at the impact that it's had.
How do you measure that impact?
So right now we're still building that out because impact is, it depends on the client. Some clients are still focused on lead gen. Some clients are okay with waiting a little bit longer and spend on their brand. So quality, production quality for them, it's like a big area of focus, right? And so impact means different things for different clients. Another client, speed, like they care that we do enough videos for them. So they don't always have a queue of stuff happening, but they want to know that when they reach out that we get on it right away. That's very valuable to them because they're a bigger company. Right. And so we measure impact differently and we're trying to build that out, but there is no standard. We noticed that there is no standard way of reporting on that. And so we need to build a custom report that we send every 3 months to our clients And so for some clients, we pick and choose some KPIs like video views and comments if they have a social heavy or a social component of their strategy, right?
Sure.
And so the other thing that we keep track is like how many videos and how long we've taken. And so that's another area. Again, for some clients, it varies what they're looking for.
Yeah. So I guess the real question here is how are you using AI in your
Ooh, that's whew. Yeah. So I think we're using AI. The way that I look at it is how can the individual role leverage AI to save time, to do it faster, to do it better, to do it more efficiently, and to do it like so it is more comfortable and easier for them. And so I cannot have a conversation about AI if we don't understand, if we're not talking about it within the context of a role of a person. And so I'm going to hit it from different angles here. So AI for us as a video agency. So we have animators, designers, and video editors as our producers, right? Like the people that produce what we sell. And for them, we're very excited every time Adobe launches a new AI feature into After Effects or Premiere, for example. So yeah, it's super exciting because it's like, man, like, so before we had to, like, in the world of video, we write, especially for explainer video, we write down the script. And before we had to use like a very monotone voice, like text to voice tool, or we had to use like the actual voiceover artist. But that takes time, right? So if I send the script to a voiceover artist, it takes me a day or two, then it takes me another day or two to put it in. But it's like 4 days in.
Yeah.
And so
Expensive, and then they want the royalties and all the, yeah.
not only, well, we still use voiceover artists for the final video. But what I'm talking about is for the production, for the initial, like lifting it off the ground for the project,
Sure.
like lifting the project off from the ground. Like when it comes to planning the video, clients struggle to visualize in a storyboard format sometimes. And so it's nice to show the storyboard with slides in a video format where they listen to the voice and they have like slideshows almost. But if we use a regular voiceover, it takes long for us to send a request, put it in. And so what AI has done now is like, oh my gosh, like we can just take this script and boom, the editor themselves can actually put that stuff together.
I mean,
so that's what I mean.
Our agency for video, for actual remarketing ads or TV ads,
100%.
Some of them are so good, that they sound just like real people. And then, because, we were using voices.com for a while. And while the price seemed low, the problem was then all of a sudden you have to keep renewing it. And then that blows a budget up. So we've actually, at our agency, we've been switching to bot generated voices, and they're
yeah. And so that's amazing way. It's been awesome for us because it allowed us to really explore different options too. It allows us to kind of like get quicker to a approval for a client. And and what is that for us? That's great because it's like, man, like now we could do more videos, we could do more stuff, and we don't have to spend so much time also like just emailing back and forth. It's faster for us, but for the client, it's also faster, and that's great value for them. Why? Because it's like, what now? It doesn't take us long. It doesn't take us as long to come up with video version 1.
Right, or even if they want to modify the script a little bit. When we read things, they feel different than when we hear them, as we both.
100%.
And and on that note, like talk to me about your role, your view of the role of storytelling and how that is key for brand differentiation.
I'm a horrible storyteller, but I do recognize the need for it. And so one of the biggest eye-opening experiences of last year was when I hired my first creative director. And it was when we went from 5 to 10 clients. Because that happened like within like a few months. So this creative director was like, okay, I want this person to be like an even better storyteller than me, right? And so as an agency owner, it's kind of hard to let go of certain service items that you do for your clients. And so, but I was like, man, like I want this person to be it needs to be like a huge leap in skill set in terms of storytelling. And And I'm glad that I focused on that, because the person that I hired is great at storytelling. And so, but it's a huge part, especially now in 2025, because if you cannot tell the stories, it's hard to make that connection with people, because they're getting hit from every angle about every shiny thing. And so if you want to create a long lasting impact on, if you want to extend the impact of the touch point, story is a great way to do that.
Yes.
Because that's how we communicate. And so a while back, I learned this fact about therapy. And so uh, kids' languages for therapy is play. So when an adult goes to therapy, talking, listening, the different strategies, but generally you need to kind of like talk about things, right? Well, for kids, it's hard for them to get to talk about things. Why? Because their language is play. Well, what is the language of connecting with people? Is storytelling. That's all it is. It's the biggest part of connecting with somebody. When they understand your story, when they understand your values, how do you make decisions? Why did you do that? How come you got this result? Like, that's really inspiring to me. Or yes, I love how you guys solve this solution, like this. I love how you solve this problem for this company. Like, I wish I could do the same thing. Or when I have the budget, I would love to do that or have that same experience. And so, or I value speed, so I would love to. And so then now you're with, through storytelling, you're able to make those connections. And I think in this year, that's going to be probably the biggest differentiator for most companies, is which companies can actually connect with their audience in a way that drives a lot of impact for them.
And authenticity, especially with,
Authenticity.
like a younger market, those Gen Zers. They are so, and I mean, it makes me think about my daughters. My daughter's only 10 and a half, but she now has gotten this skincare bug. And I'm like, I've heard about it, but I didn't really believe it until recently. I'm like, you are 10, what all the
Yeah.
skincare products, but as part of what they're hearing and how they're viewing things is the videos. But it's that authenticity that really, I think what they're most thirsty for is because they've kind of, I call it the degradation of language, which I know it really isn't, but texting, right? Everyone's now using acronyms. But I think that while we shifted a lot to texting, that's why now they want to replace it. What they want to, be on FaceTime. They want to watch videos. They want that story, because it's like you're saying, they're missing some piece of the trust that they can't get from real human connection.
Yeah. I think you're onto something. You know, I have 4 kids, and I have a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old, and they're also going through that stage of wanting to buy every product, and like, okay. And so, but it's interesting because they do, now that you bring it up, they do care so much about authenticity. It's a big, in fact, a lot of the issues that they have, like with their friends and at school and things like that, has to do with authenticity. Like, that's not really, like, I don't like this, I don't like that, blah, 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 because like, that's not really like, I don't know, dad, like, it's not like how I do things, or I don't like that because it's not very, they don't use the word authentic, but I
So
think,
it's either we call it the generation me or generation we. So either they're like, it's about like customization or personalization, or is that brand really getting me, right? Or self-expression, or it's a social justice that you want to get behind something and what they believe in, right? And I think more Gen me's than Gen we's, but I'd say about 70%. But that's why, even,
interesting.
are you doing any dynamic video content for specific users? Can that be something like that could be?
That could be, that is something that I think it's coming, but we don't get involved in that sense. We don't do any dynamic type of content. Usually that comes from bigger budgets. Usually we work with companies that are smaller, right? 50 to 1,000 employees. I mean, some of these companies are really, their revenue is a lot. It's big revenue, but they're not enterprise, right? They're not enterprise level. And so that's why I believe we haven't gotten a chance to get into that. But I think with AI now in the next few years, we're going to see that become more available to smaller companies.
Yeah.
And so at that point, we'll be able to do that.
I think that'd be
What I
amazing. I'm actually working on some custom direct mail based off of CRM trigger. So
Mhm.
the status changes to no show or needs rescheduling, whatever it is, automatically we send a custom postcard to that customer. And I could see using similar once that technology,
Yeah.
like a fresh video addressed to them, like, hi,
Mhm.
Daniel, it's, it's the company and you looked at these products online and you may have missed these and like showcase, based off their user action. That would be very powerful.
Yeah, I think I see that happening in sales already. Like there's this tool, well, there's different tools where you can upload a script, you read it, and so now the tool has your like your profile basically, right? So now you can just write whatever you wanted to say, and it will just say it in your voice and with your lips and everything. And so it's really impactful when it comes to selling with video. But I think that's going to become more available and embedded in other tools, in sales tools, like what you're talking about with direct mail and also text. We've all been to different websites and things like that where they're like, "Hey, you forgot to click buy," right? Like, I was just looking for I live here in Utah, and they do a lot of tubing in the winter, right?
In the
Like
winter? Oh, on the snow.
snow tubing, yeah. And I had a cousin visit us, and I was like, man, I want to take him YouTube. So I went on the website, and it looked like a very basic website. And so I was like it's like almost like a little ranch that they turned it into like a snow tubing kind of thing. And so I leave the website. I never clicked buy, but I did add 6 tickets, and I just never clicked buy, right? And so then later, like 2 hours later, I get a text like, "Hey, you never clicked buy to those 6 tickets. We having an event this week. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Interesting. Wow, like that's it. It goes to show that the tools and that are available in the market are getting sophisticated, and they're becoming more available to everybody and
Yeah.
different budgets. Um, but at the same time, it needs to be backed up with strategy, of course, right? But it is interesting how there's a lot of stuff happening in terms of customization.
Yeah. So on that note, I guess maybe the last question, looking ahead, where do you see video marketing evolving when it comes to SaaS and B2B space? What excites you most?
So I think the area that excites me the most is empowering the strategy. So in the production, it's happening. Like we talked about it before. We know that Premiere, like the Adobe Suite, is getting a bunch of AI implementation features. So we know that that's happening, and it's speeding up the production. Uh, in I'm very excited to see more companies do video, like use Adobe without knowing how to use Adobe. That's great. There's always going to be a place for an animator to do, a lot more with After Effects than he could have ever done. But essentially, what I'm saying, what excites me the most is not so much the production, but the strategy. I think we need to find ways to dissect data better so that companies can have quickly access and onboard new people that have very little context and be able to serve them and help them faster with new ideas. AI is great at ideation and helping you explore ideas, but I would argue that AI is using the model, right? And so copying other people is never really a good strategy, but that's essentially what you're doing when you use AI. You're copying. And so you need to be careful not to rely so much on it and be able to use it the right way, which is helping you explore options so that you could come up
You're
with new
right.
ideas.
Otherwise, if you just keep using the same, and now if we like to your point here, we have new or more tools, but then it's the same stock imagery, and now everyone's using it, and instead of investing in their own authentic video content, and now you look
Exactly.
the same as everyone else, and that's not what
Exactly.
the whole point of brand differentiation is, right? It's to use it to speed up, but it will not replace you developing your own content or a unique voice. Right.
I agree 100%. And I think it's sort of like it's it's raised the bar in some ways. It's lowered the bar, the cost of entry to be able to create content, but it's raised the bar in terms of the quality that is needed to actually create content that is meaningful.
Or we call it the stop the scroll. Right?
Exactly. And so
Scrolling.
when you tell ChatGPT or whatever tool, hey, create an image that's unique, on paper, yes, it's unique. But if I'm willing to bet, once you start, if you post that image, once you start scrolling, like everybody's posting literally the same image, just tweaked differently. It looks different, but it's the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So then it's like, well, is it the same? Is it unique?
Or is it even
No.
worth the time? I mean, it's
Exactly.
kind of, if it's not going to stand out, if you're not going to have a strategy and key milestones of why you're developing the content, how are you going to distribute it, what impact it's going to make, and give it long enough to create that impact. Like, starting and stopping, you mentioned earlier about, companies who invest and then they, but it's a long, depending on your service, it's a long tail process. And, really committing, I think, to something for, if you're going to go into this video world, committing long-term is key.
100%. And also committing to not so much. Yes, the length is important, but also having experimenting.
Yeah.
Right. Like you don't have, not every video or not every project has to have like an ROI attached. We definitely want to give you ROI in its totality, but in like at a project level, we want to be able to experiment, because that's what marketing is. It's an experiment. It doesn't matter if you keep track of every KPI. At the end of the day, somebody's making a decision to go that route that was based on data, but still needs to explore new channels, new ways of engaging, new ways of approaching your audience. Why? Because that's what's gonna connect with them. Otherwise, you're gonna be like the rest of the people that are just going with, hey, how to put together a strategy. Okay, yeah, copy paste, like fill in the blank. Yes, you could do that, but that's only gonna get you so far. At some point, you're gonna have to confront the fork in the road, whether you're gonna develop your own thing or you're gonna keep kind of like copying and just going the safe route. And so I think with video is the same way. You have to experiment. You can still do what you think you should do, sure, like what it works, but you should also leave some budget and some opportunities to test out new things and see. Maybe you
push the boundaries.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
How else are you gonna learn, right? How else are you gonna really lead your industry?
That's right. Well, I think that's a great place to end. Thank you so much, Daniel, for being here today and sharing SparkPortal. And for anyone who wants to learn more, they can visit sparkportal.com or follow Daniel on LinkedIn. And please join me next week as I interview another industry expert on a topic to help you succeed on and offline. Aloha, and I'll see you in the pixels.